In this video, I will share my journey to get back in canoe shape after a severe shoulder and ankle injury left me unable to paddle and walk. This may help you overcome an injury and or get into shape for paddling and portaging this year. So let's start off with how a few years ago I was in amazing shape. I was working out an hour a day, doing Beachbody workouts like P90X, Insanity, Body Beast, and so on. Doing Namaste yoga often, as well as playing ultimate frisbee, soccer, badminton, and canoeing up a storm. You may remember, this is the year I bought my new canoe from Beach Marine, and I was paddling like crazy. I must have put on a good 50 plus days of paddling that year. Anyways, the excessive wear on my shoulder that year, while not apparent to me, was actually noticeable in photographs looking back, as you see here. One day, during a flag football game, I took a tumble and landed wrong on my arm and shoulder. I didn't notice too much that day, but in the following days, I wouldn't even be able to lift my arm to feed myself. I had to learn how to write with my left hand for work. It was bad. I was in so much pain. I saw doctors, chiropractors, had x-rays, even went for massages and was resting. They couldn't figure out what was wrong. Thus, I started physiotherapy. That helped a bit, but I could still barely move my arm and lift anything, and I was also having troubles moving my neck. They basically told me that was as good as it was going to get and to keep doing the exercises and hope things improved. Back to the doctors I went, and I had an MRI, which found a severe tear in my shoulder. Also at this time, we noted that my clavicle on one side was protruding significantly and leading to significant neck pain. The doctor laid it out to me straight. I was going to have to give up canoeing for the foreseeable future. Heartbroken, I debated selling my canoe on Kijiji. What was I supposed to do? I was so utterly depressed. Life seemed hopeless. Did I also mention I was also struggling to play bass, my other hobby? So like all my hobbies and things I enjoyed suddenly ceased to exist. Eventually, I heard about osteopathy and tried it out. I was finally getting some relief and was able to turn my head a bit for the first time in months. So I continued to go, and gradually things got better. Keep in mind, it always baffled me how the small painless adjustments the osteopath did made such a difference. And over time, things were getting better. I asked Mr. Osteopath what he thought about an 8-day canoe trip. He knew I would do it anyways, and said, well, give it a try and just take it super easy. Worst case, this would be your last canoe trip ever. So paddling I went, and I took things easy. Wait a minute. You know I didn't take it easy. I ended up having to battle super fierce headwinds that made forward movement almost impossible. Praying my shoulder wouldn't give out, I gave it as much as I could and got through the fierce wind. The shoulder prevailed, but by the end of it, I was very sore. Once I got back, many more months of osteopath and physiotherapy continued to get ready to try paddling again the following year. It took a whole year before I was ready to go on my next big trip. This time, we went to Temagami for a 7-day trip. Besides once again struggling with strong headwinds, things were going pretty good. The shoulder was okay, it needed to rest every now and again, but otherwise the pain was very minimal. Then while portaging to Cheesecon Lake, I fell while carrying the canoe. My ankle bent a nasty way, and the pain was sudden and immense. I was alone. No one was there to help me, so I had to become one with the pain, tightened my boot for some support, and slowly hobbled my gear across 4 lakes that day, trying to find a site. That's a long story in itself. You can check out the video. It took me 4 days of very slow and careful portaging to get out of there and back to the car. But my troubles didn't end once I was back in the car. The ride home was even worse than the portaging, as my swollen ankle could barely handle the gas and brake. I just needed ice, Advil, and rest at this point. More physiotherapy, more osteopathic care, and time. Lots of time, and I was finally able to walk again. As well as doing ankle exercises, such as these you see here, were a big key at strengthening my ankle. Feeling better with the ankle every day, I started to working out to strengthen things and get back in shape. As I saw it, being out of shape in the first place was probably one of the biggest contributing factors to the sprained ankle. I started with yoga, then combined yoga and Pilates with Charlene Johnson on the PiYo workouts. I was very embarrassed with my workout routine at this point. Comments from the host about getting my pre-pregnant body back weren't helping either. It clearly wasn't designed for folks like me wanting to get back in shape for canoeing. It seemed more aimed at new mothers looking to shed some weight. Either way, I progressed and completed the workouts over 2 months. Then I moved on to Shaun T's T25, slowly increasing my stability, strength, and endurance. After another 2 months completing that, after that I was ready to try something a little more physical, and I moved on to Shaun T's Insanity workouts. These high-intensity workouts kicked my butt, but slowly and surely my ankle no longer hurt and I was getting into better shape. That year I was able to go on some canoe trips and do some portages. Although the ankle injury had encouraged me to take things easy, something I wasn't very used to doing at this point. Either way, it was a good year with minimal portages and shorter canoe trips. This year, I'm going to be getting a brand new Swift Cruiser 14 in May. And while I'm very much looking forward to it, I'm also nervous. This is going to be using a kayak-style paddling with a double blade, which I did experiment with a bit last year down the Thames, and found my back, especially where I believe the rhombus areas, were quite sore and having some difficulties paddling me for long distances. Now the goal is to strengthen the back muscles as well as the core to be able to handle this double blade paddling, and I feel the P90X workouts will help me with this. They will also have a focus on balance postures, which should help me balance heavy portage loads on challenging terrain, preventing further injuries. At the very least, all this stretching and strength training should help me bounce back faster if I do get an injury. I feel great and confident right now that this is going to be a great year of paddling and I'm finally getting back into the shape I was before the injury. Now, I never follow any of the bloody diets they suggest. I try to with a grain of salt, but I will never have a six-pack anything. My only goal with working out is to get in shape so I can continue canoeing and doing the things I love. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you for watching this video, and I hope it helps you find the ways to get back in shape and recover from your injuries. We're all in this together, and I hope to see you out paddling.